I caught her sending revealing photos to her ex. When confronted, she said it's just how girls keep backups in case things don't work out. I smiled, apologized, and took her to dinner. While she was in the bathroom, I forwarded the entire thread to her ultra-religious father. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here. It means the world. But take a look at this. Only 8% of people watching are subscribed. If you enjoy these stories and want to support more of them, just one click makes a huge difference. My girlfriend Melissa and I had been together for about 1.5 years. We met through a mutual friend at a charity event, hit it off immediately, and things progressed pretty naturally from there. I'm 32, work as a civil engineer for a construction company, and lead a fairly straightforward life. Melissa is 28, works in pharmaceutical sales, and comes from what she always described as a super strict religious family that she'd mostly escaped from when she went to college. In the time we'd been dating, I'd only met her parents twice, once at her brother's wedding, where her father barely acknowledged me because Melissa and I were living in sin, and once at a painfully awkward Thanksgiving dinner, where her father spent most of the meal quoting scripture about the path to righteousness. Her mother mostly kept quiet, nodding along with whatever her husband said. It was clear they weren't thrilled with Melissa's lifestyle, but she seemed to have established a delicate truce with them. They wouldn't lecture her too much if she showed up for major holidays and kept her sinful life out of their sight. Despite the family drama, our relationship was solid. Or so I thought. One Saturday morning, Melissa was in the shower while I made coffee. Her phone, which was charging on the kitchen counter, lit up with several notifications in a row. I wasn't the type to snoop, but when a guy's name I didn't recognize, Jake, appeared along with a preview that said, "Damn baby, send more like." I'll admit, my curiosity got the better of me. I picked up her phone, which didn't have a passcode because she said they were too much trouble, and opened the message thread. What I found was a months-long conversation with her ex-boyfriend, filled with flirtatious messages, inside jokes about their past relationship, and increasingly revealing photos of Melissa that had apparently been sent just minutes before she got in the shower. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through the messages. There were dozens of exchanges, dating back almost 8 months, which meant this had been going on for most of our relationship. The photos started relatively innocent, but had progressed to the kind you definitely don't send to someone when you're in a committed relationship with someone else. Jake, miss seeing that body in person. Play your cards right, and maybe you will again someday. What about that engineer dude? He's sweet, but things aren't set in stone. A girl needs options. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I set her phone down exactly where it had been and tried to process what I'd just discovered. I must have been standing there longer than I realized, because suddenly Melissa was in the kitchen, hair wrapped in a towel, reaching for her phone. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, casually checking her notifications. I saw her quickly swipe away Jake's message preview. "Who's Jake?" I asked directly. Her eyes flicked up to me, then back to her phone, then to me again. The split-second calculation was visible on her face. "Just an old friend," she said with a shrug. "We catch up sometimes." "By catch up, do you mean you send him revealing photos while I'm in the next room?" Her entire demeanor changed in an instant. The casual facade dropped, and she went on the offensive. "You went through my phone? What the hell, Ryan? That's a massive invasion of privacy." Classic deflection. I stayed calm. "The messages popped up while your phone was on the counter. I saw enough of the preview to be concerned. So yes, I looked. And now I'm asking you to explain why you're sending those kinds of photos to your ex while we're in a relationship." She rolled her eyes like I was being ridiculous. "It's not a big deal. Jake and I have history, and we still talk sometimes. It's harmless." "Harmless? You told him things aren't set in stone with me, and that you might let him see you in person again." She sighed, like she was explaining something to a child. "It's just how girls keep backups in case things don't work out. Everyone does it." I stared at her, genuinely stunned. "Everyone does not do that. That's not normal relationship behavior." "God, you're so naive," she said with a dismissive laugh. "This is why I didn't tell you. I knew you'd overreact like this. It doesn't mean anything. It's just insurance. Insurance? Against what? Against ending up alone. Look, men always have options. Women need to strategize. Jake is just a backup plan. I'm with you, aren't I? Her complete lack of remorse was almost more shocking than the messages themselves. There was no apology, no acknowledgement that what she'd done was wrong, just a casual explanation of her backup strategy, as if it were perfectly reasonable relationship behavior. In that moment, I realized two things. First, this relationship was over. And second, I wanted Melissa to experience real consequences for her actions, not just a typical breakup where she'd move on to Jake or another backup without missing a beat. So I made a decision that surprised even me. You know what? Maybe I'm overreacting, I said, forcing a smile. You're right. We all need insurance in life. I'm sorry I looked at your phone. She seemed surprised by my sudden capitulation, but quickly accepted it. It's fine. Just trust me next time, okay? I'm with you because I want to be. Let me make it up to you, I said. How about dinner tonight at that new Italian place you've been wanting to try? My treat. Seriously? That place is impossible to get into. I know a guy. I replied with a wink. In reality, I'd been holding a reservation there for weeks, planning to take her for our upcoming anniversary. But that anniversary wasn't going to happen now. She beamed. You're the best. I need to go shopping for a new dress for that place. Take your time, I said. Reservations at 8. While she was out shopping, I made some preparations of my own. First, I documented the entire message thread with Jake, taking screenshots on my own phone. Then I packed up all of Melissa's things from my apartment, not angrily throwing them into boxes, but carefully organizing them so nothing would be damaged. I stacked everything neatly in my spare bedroom, out of sight. When she returned with shopping bags, excitedly showing me the expensive dress she'd bought for dinner, I played along, complimenting her choice and acting like everything was normal. That evening, we arrived at the restaurant and were seated at a prime table. Melissa was in high spirits, taking photos of everything for her Instagram. We ordered appetizers, entrees, and an expensive bottle of wine. The conversation flowed naturally. I'd always found it easy to talk to her, which made the betrayal sting even more. When our main courses arrived, Melissa excused herself to the restroom. As soon as she was out of sight, I picked up her phone, which she'd left on the table. Still no passcode. I quickly opened her message thread with Jake, selected the entire conversation including all the photos, and forwarded it to a new recipient. Dad. I knew from previous interactions that her father, a conservative deacon at their church, had very strong views about appropriate behavior, especially for his daughter. I also knew that he paid for Melissa's car insurance and her phone bill, despite her having a well-paying job, because she'd often bragged about how she manipulated her parents into continuing to support her financially, even though she was approaching 30. Just before hitting send, I added a brief message. Dad, I think I've been sending these to the wrong person by mistake. Sorry. I hit send. Deleted the forwarded message from her text history, so she wouldn't immediately see what I'd done, and placed her phone exactly where she'd left it. Then I took a long, satisfying sip of my wine. When Melissa returned, I suggested we order dessert. After all, we're celebrating, I said with a smile. Celebrating what? She asked. New beginnings, I replied cryptically. We finished our meal, and I paid the check, $280 plus tip, the most expensive dinner I'd ever bought, worth every penny. I drove us back to my apartment in comfortable silence. When we arrived, instead of heading inside, I popped the trunk and retrieved a box of her belongings. What's this? She asked, confusion spreading across her face. The first load of your things, I said calmly. The rest are just inside the door. I've packed everything up for you. What are you talking about? I'm breaking up with you, Melissa. I don't date people who keep backups. Her expression morphed from confusion to anger. Are you serious? After I explained everything? After that nice dinner? The dinner was my parting gift. Consider it insurance against you ever thinking I wasn't generous until the very end. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're throwing away our relationship over some harmless texts? No, I'm ending our relationship because you've been lying to me for months, because you explicitly told your ex you might get back with him someday. Because you don't respect me or what we had. Whatever, she said, rolling her eyes again. Jake will be thrilled to hear this. I'm sure he will, I agreed. And I think your dad will be thrilled to see those messages too. Her face went pale. What? While you were in the bathroom, I forwarded your entire conversation with Jake to your father. Every message, every photo. I figured if you believe in backup so much, you should have a backup place to live when your dad cuts off your financial support. She frantically grabbed her phone. But of course, there was no evidence of what I'd done in her sent messages. You're bluffing, she said, but her voice wavered. Check your dad's messages in about 3, 2, 1. Right on cue, her phone began ringing. The contact name, Dad. The color drained completely from her face as she stared at the phone in horror. You should probably take that, I suggested. Though I'd recommend not doing it here, as I've changed the locks and your key won't work anymore. You can't do this, she shouted, now in full panic mode. I already did. Your backup plan just became your primary plan. Good luck explaining those photos to your father. She answered the phone as she walked away. And I could hear her father's voice thundering through the speaker, even from several feet away. Melissa Ann Roberts. What is the meaning of these pictures? I closed my apartment door, poured myself another glass of wine, and felt something I hadn't expected. Not satisfaction exactly, but a strange sense of justice. I hadn't yelled, hadn't made a scene, hadn't done anything illegal. I'd simply showed her father exactly who his daughter really was. The fallout was both swift and extensive. According to mutual friends, Melissa's father did indeed cut her off financially. No more car insurance, phone bill, or the emergency credit card she had apparently been using regularly for non-emergency shopping. He also informed their entire church community about his daughter's sinful behavior, effectively making family functions impossible for her. Jake, her supposed backup plan, turned out to be less reliable than she'd hoped. When she reached out to him after our breakup, he was initially enthusiastic, until he realized she actually wanted a relationship, not just flirtatious texts. He stopped responding to her messages within a week. Melissa was forced to downgrade her luxury apartment to a shared living situation with 2 roommates. She also had to trade in her leased BMW for a used Honda when the lease ended and her father refused to co-sign for a new one. As for me, I moved on, changed my phone number, focused on work, eventually started dating someone who understands that relationships are about commitment, not contingency plans. It's been about 6 months now, and occasionally I still get messages from mutual friends passing along Melissa's demands for an apology, claiming I ruined her life. I simply remind them that I wasn't the one sending revealing photos to an ex while in a committed relationship. I wasn't the one who explained it away as normal behavior. And I certainly wasn't the one who told my partner they were just a placeholder until something better came along. I just showed her father exactly who she was. The consequences were entirely of her own making. Update. Wow, didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Thanks for all the awards and comments. Seeing a lot of the same questions, so I'll address them here. 1. For those asking about legal issues with forwarding her photos, I checked with a lawyer friend afterward, and while it's a gray area, there were no explicit nudes involved, just revealing photos that she had already willingly sent to someone else. Plus, it was her father, not posting them publicly. Still, not something I'd recommend doing without consideration. 2. Yes, I really changed the locks that fast. I have a buddy who's a locksmith who owed me a favor. Called him while she was shopping for her fancy dinner outfit. He was there within an hour. 3. A lot of you are saying I should have confronted Jake too. Honestly, he didn't owe me any loyalty. He wasn't the one in a relationship with me. Melissa was. That's where my focus stayed. 4. For those wondering if I feel bad about getting her cut off financially, not really. She was 28 with a job that paid 6 figures. Her financial support from her parents was purely supplemental luxury money that she manipulated them into providing. She's doing fine financially, just not living the artificially inflated lifestyle she was accustomed to. 5. Several people have asked if she tried to get revenge. She did attempt to contact my boss with some made-up story about me having alcohol issues, but I'd already given my supervisor a heads up that my ex might try something like that. He ignored her email completely. 6. The most common question. Would I do it again? Honestly, probably not. It worked out in this case, but involving family and relationship drama is usually not the best move. That said, I don't regret it. Sometimes people need to face real consequences for their actions, not just walk away unscathed. Number 7. Last update on Melissa. Heard through the grapevine that she's now dating some guy from her church that her father introduced her to. Apparently, she's found her faith again. Good for her if it's genuine, but the timing seems conveniently aligned with getting her parents' financial support back. Lesson learned from all this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And if they call you naive for expecting basic loyalty, they're telling you everything you need to know about their character.